Hello everybody and welcome back to Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today I'm bringing you Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, brand new commander from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction set, and let's jump right in and see how Obeka works and talk about some strategies for this deck. So Obeka, Splitter of Seconds is 1 blue, black, red legendary creature ogre warlock with menace. Whenever Obeka, Splitter of Seconds deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase, and she is a 2/5. So the first thing I want to talk about is this is quite a unique card. Obviously, Obeka, the last printing we got, was also very cool, letting you end the turn whenever you like, or letting you end the turn whenever opponent agrees. So you got some really cool benefits there. This one might be way more powerful. The old one, you could do some really cool ending turn stuff to negate some effects, keeping things on the board that would normally go away. But getting additional upkeeps, I think, is so dangerous. There are a ton of cards that care about upkeeps and give you a lot of really good value for upkeeps. So that's what this deck is going to be focused around, is all of these upkeep effects that are really good and powering up Obeka. I did see that there was a number of decks that focused around suspend cards, and I think that's cool, but without you having a engine kind of to refill your hand, I think that's going to be harder, where I think there's a lot more versatility in this deck. So let's start out by looking at some of the powering up effects to give you the maximum amount of extra upkeeps by making Obeka bigger. So first off, we have some great equipment you can attach to Obeka with Fire Shrieker, Psychic Paper, and Ring of Evos Isle. So Fire Shrieker, obviously one of the best equipment because it gives double strike. And Obeka notably says when it deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase. So you basically get double the number of upkeeps if you can connect. I mean, she's not super powerful as a 2/5, but we'll find some ways to change that up. Next is Psychic Papers. This is a 2 generic artifact equipment with, as it becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name and creature type. So Obeka, Splitter of Seconds, and Ogre or Warlock. Equipped creature has Ward 1, it can't be blocked, and its name and creature type are the last chosen name and creature type. So notably for us, all we really care about is equipping this to Obeka. I mean, sure, there are some other creatures where maybe that would matter, but just giving this unblockable is pretty great. And the Ring of Evos Isle is a set of rings. The other two are in this deck list, and I'll say them briefly as we're going through them, but they all cost 2 to cast, equip for 1, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature if it's blue in this case. The others are black and red, obviously, and this notably, and the reason I want to show it off here, has 2 equipped creature gains hexproof until end of turn. So maybe you want to protect your creature, someone's trying to target it. Nope, sorry. For just 2 mana, you give it hexproof. Notably, just to talk about it real quick, one of the other rings for black makes it so you can regenerate a creature, meaning that if it would die, you can just have it not die instead, which is super sick. So I really love all of this equipment. I think that that's a cool strategy to go with Obeka, but here's some other ways to uniquely power her up. So we have Headliner, Scarlet, Infinite Hourglass, and Tavern Brawler. So Headline Scarlet is 3 in a red legendary creature, human warlock with haste. When it enters the battlefield, creatures target player control can't block this turn, and at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at it and play this card this turn. So notably here, you're just going to make it so Obeka's unblockable, which is super great, and maybe get some card value off the top. Infinite Hourglass is an old card. I believe it dates all the way back to originally coming out in Ice Age, but it's 4 generic artifact. During your upkeep, put a time counter on Infinite Hourglass. All creatures get +X+0, where X is the total number of time counters on Infinite Hourglass. Any player may pay 3 during an upkeep to remove a time counter from Infinite Hourglass. Notably, I believe time counters do fall off. They kind of work like suspend. Those are time counters, so they tick down. But you can start building these up, and Obeka gets bigger and bigger and benefits from this more and more. So you can either get more upkeeps or force your opponents to spend mana to, power this down, which I think for 4 mana, if you make an opponent do this maybe even once, it's worth the mana cost. And Tavern Brawler, 2 in a red, legendary, enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the card's mana value. You may play that card until end of turn. So unfortunately here, you're only going to get that 1 at the beginning, but really anything that you can reveal to buff up Obeka is going to be great. And in addition, after combat, you're going to reveal a ton of cards that you can then play as well. So some of the other cards that I put in this deck that care about powering up are Aqueous Form, Brass Knuckles, Manifold Key, Necropolis, Regent, Ring of Valkis, Ring of Zarthid, Sonic Screwdriver, and Swiftfoot Boots. So this next category here is all cards that care about upkeeps and some great benefits we can get from them. So you're going to see some higher mana cost cards here because, you know, that's kind of how you're going to get more powers by playing these bigger spells. So starting out, we have Carnal Serenade, Portal to Phyrexia, and Shieldred Whispering One. This set of cards all cares about reanimating stuff. Carnal Serenade lets you surveil and then return a card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Then it gets suspended with 3 time counters on it. Obeka obviously can shorten that time down, and maybe we get to do this more than once per turn. That would be amazing. Just get stuff back. Portal to Phyrexia is an artifact that says when it is a 9-drop artifact that says when Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacks 3 creatures. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. Another very cool way to power up your board by just getting stuff back multiple things per turn. And very similarly, Shieldred the Whispering One, 5 black legendary creature creator with Swamp Walk, and at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And notably, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player must sack a creature. So another great way, maybe not stealing or cheating cards out of the bin, is cheating cards onto the board. Notably, creature tokens with effects that normally would have far fewer chances to activate in a normal game. So those cards are Bone Hoarder Dracosaur, Dragon Master Outcast, and Skyline Despot. Bone Hoarder Dracosaur is 3 red creature dinosaur dragon with flying and first strike. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. If you exile a land this way, create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. If you exile a non-land card this way, create a treasure token. Next up is Dragon Master Outcast, a single red mana creature human shaman. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. For 1 mana to create a 5/5 seems pretty good. For 1 mana to create 3 or 4 or more 5/5s seems incredible. And Skyline Despot, 5 red creature dragon flying. When it enters, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you're the monarch, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Now, the downside to this card normally is that you have to wait a whole turn cycle to retain the Monarch, but the fact that Obeka gives you those upkeep steps just makes it so as long as you deal damage, you're getting some great benefits. And the last couple cards I want to talk about in this more upkeeps section is free power. So this is stuff that's going to get you free things onto the board, and you're going to get a lot more benefits than your opponents are. So first off, we have Braid's Conjure Adept, Gate to the Ether, and Inevitable Betrayal. So Braid's Conjure Adept and Gate to the Ether are very similar. Braid's here is 2 blue creature, legendary creature, human wizard. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player may put an artifact, creature, or land card from their hand onto the battlefield. Notably here, we're going to get a lot more triggers with Braids than our opponents do. Gate to the Ether is a 6-drop artifact that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player reveals the top card of his or her library. If it's an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land, that player puts it into play. There are only a couple instant sorceries in this deck. I just found that the permanents were way more powerful in this deck, so you're going to have a lot higher chance of getting permanents on the board. And then Inevitable Betrayal is a sorcery with Suspend that says search target opponent's library for a creature card and put that card onto the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles. But here are some other really cool upkeep focus cards that I think are really powerful. We have Blood Tyrant, Creeping Bloodsucker, Dominus of Fealty, Exalted Flamer of Tzeentch, Forgotten Creation, Leyline Tyrant, Magmatic Force, Replicating Ring, Triss Adcophile, Twilight Prophet, and Xanathar Guild Kingpin. Now, next up, I'm going to talk about some amazing enchantments that really pop off when you start throwing upkeep triggers on them. But I just want to say, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It would really mean a lot to me. I'm going to be putting out a ton more decks for this set, so just keep an eye out for those. But let's look at some of those enchantments. And first off here, I'm calling this Courts 1.0, we have Court of Ambition, Court of Cunning, and Court of Ire. This is the original court cycle we received in Commander Legends, and there are some very good and powerful courts, but when you pair this with extra upkeeps and becoming the monarch on that same turn, it's stupid powerful. Court of Ambition says when it enters, you become the monarch. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. If you're the monarch, it's 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. So pretty much at some point, your opponent's just going to have to start taking damage because they can't discard their hands. So you do this, I don't know, 3 times. That's 18 damage, which is incredible. Court of Cunning says when it enters, you become the monarch. And at the beginning of your upkeep, any number of target players each mill 2 cards. If you're the monarch, each of those players mills 10 instead. It's incredible. You mill 30 cards with 3 triggers. Maybe it's 4 triggers. That's 40. In 1 or 2 turns, you can mill out your entire opponent's libraries with just Court of Cunning alone. It's stupid, and it's going to be very, very powerful. And then Court of Ire. When it enters, you become the monarch, and at the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 2 damage to any target. If you're the monarch, it deals 7 to a player or permanent instead. With only a couple activations of this, you can just kill an opponent or one of their best creatures outright. Court of Ire has never been more powerful. But we did get another set of courts with the Wild's Veldrain Commander, and all of these are very, very powerful as well. So first off, we have Court of Embreth, Court of Locthwain, and Court of Vantress. Court of Embreth says when it enters, you become the monarch, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 3/1 Red Knight creature token. Then if you're the monarch, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control. Right off the bat, if the only thing else out there you have is Obeka, you have Obeka, Court of Embreth. First trigger, you make a 3/1 knight, it deals 2 to each opponent. Second trigger, you make another knight, and it deals 3 to each opponent. So you dealt 5 damage, created 2 creatures for 4 mana, and it just gets better and better with the more things you have on the board. So awfully powerful, and just, I would feel so bad to be playing against this deck and this trigger. I mean, I would almost scoop at that point. It's so strong. I've thought about building this deck 3 times while making it and just said I couldn't. I mean, I'd have to be in the right play group to really take advantage of a deck this powerful. Court of Locthwain is next. 2 black enchantment. When it enters, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of target opponent's library. You may play the card for as long as it's exiled and may use mana of any type to cast it. If you're the monarch, until the end of turn, you may cast a spell from among cards exiled with Court of Locthwain without paying its mana cost. This one doesn't necessarily, guarantee you the best things ever, but maybe you get some good stuff off of it, so I think it's worth including. And Court of Vantress, 2 blue enchantment. When it enters, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose up to 1 other target enchantment or artifact. If you're the monarch, you may create a token that's a copy of it. If you're not the monarch, you may have Court of Vantress become a copy of it, except it has this ability. Notably, just like all of these enchantments we already had, there's a bunch of other great ones that I would love to just have more of as well. So Court of Vantress, very powerful. You're gonna need some other stuff out there first. So next up, let's talk about dealing some other big damage and getting some big power onto the board. Not like we didn't already talk about that, but some cool cards I think are worth including in this category are Descent into Avernus, Protection Racket, and Virtue of Persistence. So if you've ever played with Descent into Avernus, you know how just awfully powerful that is, and you're going to be able to take advantage of all that mana you're generating. So it is 2 in a red enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and Descent into Avernus deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of Descent counters on Descent into Avernus. This just adds up over and over and over again, and if you can just go all out, you might be able to win on the turn that you play this and just deal a ton of damage to your opponents in the process. Notably, if you're ahead of everybody else, you can just maybe wipe them out with this card. So very fun way to win. Protection Racket is next, 2 in a black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, repeat the following process for each opponent in turn order. Reveal the top card of your library. The player may pay life equal to the card's mana value. If they do, exile that card. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Who knows how much life you're going to be able to deal with this card, but there's a lot of really big stuff in this deck, so your opponents may just want to give it to you. And then Virtue of Persistence is 5 black enchantment, but it has an adventure for 1 in a black Locthwain Scorn. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. But at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Like our creatures up above, we just get free value from doing all that. And the last category in these enchantments, and the last category I'm going to talk about today, are enchantment and duplication effects. There are notably a really cool amount of duplication effects. We have Endless Evil, Extravagant Replication, and Followed Footsteps. Endless Evil is 2 in a blue, enchantment aura, enchanted creature you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except the token is a 1/1. When enchanted creature dies, If the creature was a horror, return endless evil to its owner's hand. Notably here, I don't think we have any horrors in the deck, but getting to create, multiple copies of some of the best cards in this deck, giving you additional benefits and whatnot is insane. So having more copies of your stuff is just super good. Extravagant Replication is 4 blue enchantment, pretty pricey here, but at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of another target non-land permanent you control. This includes all of the courts, maybe another aura enchantment, anything on your board that's a non-land, which, yeah, I don't have to explain why that's good. And then Followed Footsteps, 3 blue enchant aura, enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a token that's a copy of enchanted creature onto the battlefield. This one is not just a 1/1 now, you get the full creature, if that matters, but just silly good. So now let's read off the rest of those enchantments. We have As Foretold, Call of the Ring, Goblin Assault, Ill-Gotten Inheritance, Mechanized Production, Nathir's, Puzzle Wand, Paradox Haze, Phyrexian Arena, Stolen Strategy, and Thopter Spy Network. Now, notably, I would read out the good stuff cards, and I will real quick, but there wasn't anything really notable here. All the main deck cards were just so much better than anything here. These are kind of just some cards you need to fill in the rest of your deck. You got Arcane Denial, Arcane Signet, Blasphemous Act, Chaos Warp, Commander Sphere, Counterspell, Faithless Looting, and Soul Ring. And that is it. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deck. I hope it inspired you. I hope that some of these cards you also agree are just disgusting and you're going to play and just have so much fun with. I think that this deck is extremely powerful, extremely good, extremely fun, and I'm just so happy I could make it and maybe give you guys some ideas or suggestions. So thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if there's a card you think deserves to be in this deck I didn't mention. If you would please share this with a friend, maybe you have someone who has the original Obeka or who's looking for a really strong commander like this. Show them it, share the video, leave a like. I would really appreciate that. Tell them to subscribe. That would be amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And today's Scryfall card of the day is Megrim. Memories cut from the mind can cut right back. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.